All right, Steve, let's talk a little intel coming out of the Navy All-American game, which is going to be played down in San Antonio in a couple of days. Let's start at the top with the number one linebacker in America, Tyler Atkinson. He was just in Nashville about a week ago. Now he's down in San Antonio. What is Tyler Atkinson thinking when it comes to recruiting?
Well, Josh, you just spent some time with him, so you can correct my work when I'm done answering. But I like the place Georgia has in this recruitment right now. He was recently on the Bulldogs campus for a bowl game practice. That was right after he helped Loganville Grayson win another state championship. He had as dominant a season as any prospect in the country in the junior class had. As a junior, 166 tackles, Josh, 32 stops for loss, 13 sacks, picked off a pass, forced a fumble, blocked a field goal, shut down Julian Lewis and company in the state championship game, that high-powered Carrollton offense. Easy to see why he's so coveted. Already sponsored by Adidas, the NIL era. Adidas, one of the major sponsors of the Navy All-American Bowl, so no question, he is one of the faces of the bowl game this week. He is one of the most coveted players in the country, regardless of position. Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann, and company have built a great relationship with him. He loves the fit in the defense, loves the way they practice, proximity to home. He is a major priority for the Bulldogs. They are the one to beat. Ohio State, Auburn, some of the other programs he's been to a lot. Texas A&M, Texas, Clemson in the middle of it, Alabama. He really wants to get out to Oregon. So we'll see if Oregon can make a move for Tyler Atkinson. But right now, I like where Georgia stands in this recruitment.
All right, Steve, there's going to be a couple announcements for the 2025 class. So let's hit on some of those, and we'll start with McKay Madsen.
Yeah, Oregon's got the number 3 recruiting class in the country in 2025. I think that they have the number 4 class in the country right now in 2025. I think they're going to add McKay Madsen to it. BYU, UCLA, a couple of his other favorites, but he took his official visit to Oregon in December. He was in Eugene for Oregon's victory over Ohio State during the fall, and he earned his offer in camp during the summer. He's always blown away by each experience he's had at Oregon. I think he's trending towards the Ducks. He's going to go on a mission, so he's not exactly a recruit in the 2025 class, but Dan Lanning and company would love to have him, loved him in camp, and they're trending to add his commitment.
All right, wide receiver Cameron Sparks out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, is going to make his final decision at the game. What are you hearing?
Yeah, Chad Simmons led the charge on this recruitment. He has an on-3 RPM in favor of the Hokies. I joined him soon after talking to sources. Virginia Tech has the nation's number 38 recruiting class. I like for Brent Pry and company to go in the SEC country and beat Arkansas in Mississippi State.
There's going to be 2 2026 decisions at the game. On 300 running back Sean Alston is going to make an early decision. Steve, what's the buzz around Alston?
USC, the Trojans have On3's number 2 ranked recruiting class early in the 2026 cycle. Sean Alston took a visit out to the Trojans campus in November. It blew him away. He loves the feel, the culture, the offense, the fit. He's been high on other programs like Penn State and Wisconsin, but I like the way this one is shaping up for USC as Lincoln Riley and company battle for that number 1 ranked recruiting class in 2026. You know, USC finishing the season with that big comeback over Texas A&M. I think it really will propel them on the recruiting trail here in the new year.
All right, Cameron Sparks' teammate at the Chattanooga Baylor School is Gabriel Osenda. He's an offensive tackle in the 2026 class, and he's ready to make his decision. Steve, you got a favorite here?
Yeah, he's quickly emerged as one of the favorites for several SEC programs. Florida and Tennessee are 2 that he likes a whole lot. And my on-3 RPM is on the Vols. Tennessee is the number 3 ranked recruiting class early in the 2026 cycle. They just landed explosive receiver Tyron Evans on Sunday, adding him to a class that includes one of the top quarterbacks in the country, Faison Brandon. I think they'll add one of their favorite offensive tackles this weekend in Osenda.
All right, Steve, let's hit on some more intel from the 2026 class, some big names that are participating in the Navy All-American game. Let's start with wide receiver Jabari Brady, on 300 prospect from Monarch High School in Florida. What's the latest on him?
Well, talking to some sources with knowledge of the recruitment and then talking to Jabari late last week, there is buzz around Miami that the Hurricanes could be tough to beat for the local product, but there is plenty of competition. Two schools I have a keen eye on are Ohio State and Oregon. He's loved his experiences on both campuses. Plays for the South Florida Express 7-on-7 team where Jeremiah Smith and Brandon Innes starred. They're obviously both up at Ohio State having great experiences.
Yeah.
He loves Brian Hartline in the offense, thinks the best players play. Oregon, same thing, had a great visit out to Eugene, really feels the culture around the program, felt welcomed, has already built a good relationship with Junior Adams and Dan Lanning over there. Then you have Florida, Josh. That's probably Miami's biggest in-state competition. The way Florida finished on the field and on the trail, you don't sleep on the Gators. He wants to visit Miami and Florida in the near future.
All right, let's head to the state of Georgia where we got two stud wide receivers who are teammates, Aaron Gregory and Devin Carter at Douglas County. What's the latest on their recruitments?
Yeah, well, Aaron Gregory gave a commitment to Texas A&M during the season, and he says he's locked in with the Aggies, but there are still several schools recruiting him that he's having dialogue with: Miami, Tennessee, Florida State, to name a few others. Texas A&M is the number 5 class in the country right now. Aaron Gregory says he's all good with the Aggies, but the door is not shut on those other programs.
All right. Now, what about Devin Carter?
Yeah, so Devin Carter, former Florida State commit, legacy recruit, reopened his process. He told Chad Simmons that Auburn, Georgia, LSU, and Miami are kind of the front runners in his recruitment right now. I know he's also taken some good visits up to Ohio State and Notre Dame and Texas, among others. The program I like in this recruitment right now is Auburn. I think Hugh Freeze and the Tigers have the edge for Devin Carter.
All right, let's shift gears to the point of attack in the trenches. Number 5 edge, Jamarian Carlton. Who's making him a priority early on?
Well, he's one of the top players in the Lone Star State, so certainly Texas and Texas A&M are doing all they can to keep Jamarian home. He always has great visits to the Aggies campus, loves the coaches. And then with Texas, defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski, he loves watching film with him, talking with him, and likes the play style at Texas. So those are two programs that are certainly in the running for him. Kansas State, Ohio State, USC, some of the others that he has great relationships with that are high on his list. And he's going to visit Florida State on January 18th. Coach Terrence Knighton, he had a rapport with him when he was at Nebraska. That is carried over to Florida State. He's excited to see what the Seminoles have to offer.
All right, 4-star defensive lineman Elijah Golden out of Virginia. Is this one shaping up to be another classic Michigan-Notre Dame recruiting battle?
Well, I think those are the two programs I have an eye on right now. I'd maybe give the edge to Notre Dame coming into the new year, but he loves both of them. He's still talking about 10, 15 schools heavily recruited out of the state of Virginia, but Notre Dame, Al Washington, Marcus Freeman, the way they're playing, he loves the style of play and energy that Notre Dame's defense plays with. And then Michigan, the tradition, a lot of the same cultures, a lot of the same fits at Michigan he sees at Michigan that he sees at Notre Dame. So those are two programs that are certainly well positioned for Elijah Golden.
All right, another big athletic body in the trenches. Defensive lineman Bryce Perry Wright. What's the latest on him?
Yeah, so a few schools that are recruiting him well: Auburn, Texas A&M, Clemson come to mind. You know, he's taking some visits to Georgia. Like Tyler Atkinson, he wants to get out to Oregon and check out the Ducks. So
why not?
He's looking to get a visit with Oregon on the itinerary, but he's really been able to make the rounds and see Auburn, Texas A&M, and those programs many times already.
All right, offensive lineman Darius Gray. We've seen his stock rise this offseason already. What's the latest on Gray?
Yeah, he's our number 4 interior offensive lineman in the 2026 class. He's going to visit Penn State on February 1. They are one of his favorites. South Carolina is where my on-3 RPM is at. He's been to Columbia several times, but they're going to have a lot of competition. He told me LSU's his dream school. He loves talking to Coach Brad Davis. Ohio State and Michigan are two programs that he likes a whole lot. Again, getting back to Penn State, they are one of the biggest challengers for Darius Gray, and he too wants to get out to Oregon. He put out his top 12 at the end of last year. Oregon was the only school on the list that he hasn't visited yet, but he's excited to get out there, check it out, and we'll see what kind of move Dan Lanning, Coach Terry, and the Ducks can make.
All right, well, that's it for the